Hello, in this video we are going to go over hierarchy. This is important for rigging, and so I wanted to get this baseline understanding down before we start getting into the actual rigging part of the class. So what we'll need to do is, just so you know what's in here, I just pulled out the Earth, here are the clouds, and here's the moon, like this. So, and then we have a light group here, just so that we get some lighting happening on the Earth. So I'll undo all that movement because we want to have our stuff in the middle of the world. We want everything to be zeroed out like this by default. Okay, so I'm going to hide the sun. Oops. Control H, and we'll start with the Earth. Also, I would probably just move the light out a little bit so you can see. I just like to be able to see the Earth there. And then what we'll need to do is, whenever we rig something, we don't really want to animate the actual geometry. We want to animate things that are over it in the hierarchy. So we'll use groups for that. But what we'll usually do is select all the geometry, and we will lock the selected. So select it all over here, right click and say lock selected right there. So I'm going to go over to each one of these and do lock selected, lock selected, and then I'll do the same thing for the sun. There we go. And if you accidentally lock something you don't want, there is an unlock. So you can click that. All right. So now let's do, let's add a group. So to add a group, you hit Control G, like this. And we are going to name this Earth underscore ROT for rotation underscore GRP for group, like that. And then we are going to key it by pressing S. Oops. Make sure that we're in frame 1, S. And then we're going to go to 360. And then we're going to rotate this 360 degrees. Usually I'll rotate it just so I get the right channel here. 360, and you can right click and say key selected, and you can also press S. All right, and then go to Windows, and let's go to the animation graph editor. I'm bringing up the graph editor because this by default will have ease in and ease out, so it slows down in the beginning and end of your, and it will stop moving after your key. So we want this to continue on afterwards, so we can select everything, then press this button, this post infinity cycle, and now this will continually rotate. You can also go up to here and post infinity cycle like that, and that will work. And then we also want to take away that ease in, ease out by clicking this and make it infinity cycle, or make it linear, like that. And then if we hit play, it should look like something like this, and just make sure it's working after the fact also. Okay, so we have the Earth rotation. Now let's do the clouds. So I'm going to expand this out to 1000, something like that. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna group it, clouds underscore rot underscore GRP, and we're gonna put that rotation here, and instead of ending at 360, I'm gonna double the time, so it will be twice as slow by going to 720. So 360 times 2 is 720. And I'm going to first key it on my first frame, then go to 720. And then over here, set this to 360, key it, press S, and I'll key all the channels. So now I have this rotation. And then I will do that same thing. You'll have to do this for everything, so might as well keep up your graph editor while you're doing this. Select all of it, linear, post infinity. So now it will be twice as slow. So that might feel too slow, but what we're going to do now is that the clouds should kind of follow the Earth rotation. We're going to put this underneath the Earth rotation group by holding on middle mouse and dragging over the group, and it should go underneath like this. So now when we play, it'll be a little bit faster than the Earth. It'll be about a fourth faster, I would think, something like that. So the reason why it's going faster now is because it's inheriting the rotation of my Earth rotation group when I put it underneath here. And then it's just adding in the extra rotation that we had with our the group that we just made, or the group that we made for the clouds. So it's kind of additive. What's interesting about this is that I could, if I wanted to, I'll show you what we could do to make this feel like it's not moving at all. Let me move this frame over by 1. We could put a negative number on this by having it end on negative 360. Key selected that. So now, see how the clouds are not moving now? It's because it's keeping up with the rotation of this. Even though in the channel box, right now it's what's happening. If I were to look at here, this value here is negative 178. So we're actively going against what our rotation of our group, Earth rotation group is. So I'll put this back because I do want it to be back 720. There we go. Look at that. And that's what we want. Now let's do the moon. Grouping it moon underscore rotation underscore GRP. And I'm going to actually change this to trans for translate because we need to get it out of the middle of the world first. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to move it out like this. And then this won't have any animation on it, the trans group. I'm going to group it again and name it moon underscore rotation. Rot GRP. And what's interesting about this, maybe I'll undo it. Since I moved it, see how my pivot point is over here? But when I group it, put on the grid, see how the group's pivot point is now in the middle of the like the Maya space here. So that's an important thing to know when we get into making our controls later on. That grouping, the pivot point will automatically go to the middle of the world, not to the object that it's grouping. So, but it's beneficial for us here because we want it to rotate from the center here. So I'm going to go moon underscore rotation underscore GRP, and then start from the beginning, S, and then I want this to be rotating probably at 720, and then 360, key selected. So now this is rotating, and then I will do that same stuff. Select all that, go to linear, post infinity, like this, and then it should just kind of work. But now the moon should probably follow the rotation of the Earth. So I'm going to select this and put it underneath this. So don't take this as a scientific, what actually happens with our world and the moon. I'm just kind of trying to explain how hierarchy works. You could probably actually make this into an accurate model if you just get the right measurements right and all that kind of thing. So now it's going to be following this, and it's going fast around there, and it inherited the rotation speed of this plus the what we already added. So it's going about the same speed as the clouds. All right. So next we are going to unhide the sun, and we want a rotation of the sun. So I'm going to group that. Do sun underscore rot underscore GRP. Do the same kind of thing, S for the first frame, and then rotation of here, put 360. Hit S to key everything. Then go over here, make sure that you set this to linear and to post infinity. There we go, and then hit play. That looks right. So now we can put this Earth rotation group underneath. Well, actually we need to move it out first, because right now it's in the middle of the world, so we need to add a group. So I'm going to hit Control G, and we are going to name this Earth underscore, maybe call it Earth all, because it has more than the Earth. And we're going to do trans underscore GRP, because we want to rotate this. We want this to come out. So I'm just going to pull this out like this. Something like that. And then I'm going to, I want this to rotate with the sun. So I'm going to middle mouse and drag this underneath the sun group, like this. And then I will hit play. And you'll see now that it's kind of following the rotation of the sun, because this trans group doesn't actually have any kind of rotation in it, so it's inheriting the rotation animation of the sun. All right. So I added in a display layer here. So if we click on that, you can have a little space scene, and in the light group we want to set this to 0 so that the light is coming directly from the center of the sun. Now if we hit this and hit play, we will have our Earth going around the sun. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video.